Welcome all to another episode of The Scoop, your go-to resource to cut through all of the noise surrounding Juventus and their transfer rumors and get a little dose of truth for what's really happening behind the scenes. My name is Zach, and of course, I'm joined by Frederic, from whom we get all of our lovely information. Frederic, how are you this fine day?
I'm very well. Bit tired, approaching the holiday break,
Yeah.
so a lot of stuff to finish up on, a lot of stuff to read upon, and so let's see if we get some transfer things out of the way because we've been reading a lot lately.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, maybe a little quieter than I would have expected, but there's still definitely a lot of rumors going on. A couple of them that we highlighted in the description of the show. The Thuram Frattesi swap that has been rumbling around the back. We'll talk about that today, as well as a few other ones. Before we jump into the content, just two quick things. One, for people new to the Scoop, this is Turin Giants' transfer program. We are fortunate enough that Frederic has contacts within Juventus who are willing to provide us with intel on the condition of anonymity that we are then happy to share with all of you. What we then do is provide those names and assign a temperature scale on whether those deals will go through, from very cold, ice cold, I should say, that it's very unlikely, all the way to red hot. That's extremely likely to happen. As December ends and January begins, we will be doing these a lot more regularly because the rumors will then be coming thick and fast. This probably will end up being our last or maybe second last scoop before January. It depends on what our holiday travel schedule looks like, right, Frederic?
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be something special, I think, this year. Also, the fact I think we can confirm now that you, me, and Kevin will be getting together at the end of January to
Mhm.
watch the home game against Napoli, which I look forward to. And today's been made official thanks to well, we might just add it, the Juventus fan club in Belgium, and maybe I should take this opportunity to say to everybody, not just about the Juventus fan club in Belgium, but any other official Juventus fan club. I mean, make use of it. It's a wonderful thing to bring Juventini together. It helps, people going to see a game, depending on your location. And the people I've spoken to from numerous Juventus official fan clubs are so kind and so helpful that it's really a missed opportunity. So be sure to check in and register with your local Juventus fan club if you want to go see a game.
Absolutely echo that. Federico and the Belgians Juve supporters fan club has been fantastic. Farhad, a member of our team, right? The OG
Yep.
himself is the president of Chicago's fan club. So I think it's a really cool way to get together with folks like us, as well as to support Juventus. And that kind of was going to lead into the second thing I was going to say is not only supporting Juventus and your local fan clubs, but you can also support us simply by clicking subscribe. This show is obviously free. All we ask is that you subscribe and like, because that means a lot to us. I think we've covered all the housekeeping matters, Frederic. I think let's get into what people really want to hear. People like Brian, Mohammed, Massimo Lesti, and Bogdan. We got some frequent flyers here. Y'all know what the deal is. Let's get into the list of names today. And we've got a couple bonus names afterwards as well. So let's get into it, Frederic.
Yeah.
Alrighty. We're just doing one slide today, and then we're going to do some bonus content afterwards, or bonus rumors. Interesting list of names today, Frederic. I was surprised when we were discussing these with some of the names that came up. And let's kick off right off the bat with one that jumped out at me as sort of wild and crazy and came out of nowhere. Lorenzo Pellegrini from Roma. What's the
Yep.
deal there?
Well, Roma's been trying to offload him for a while now. They wanted to capitalize on his transfer, which is not going to happen. So Lorenzo Pellegrini will be a free agent. And given the fact that he has, well, let's say, numerous abilities that speak in his advantage, but he hasn't really shown his true potential, I think, at Roma. I don't think he ever reached the level of what he can actually do. It sparked some interest within Juventus, especially with regards to our financial fair play regulation that we must oblige to. Could mean that Lorenzo Pellegrini could be poached, if that's the proper word, by us just to get some depth into that midfield area as well. But as far as I know, there are no official talks yet. There's been some back and forth with his management, but nothing concrete, nothing that leads me to believe that we're going to go all in. But he should be kept, at least for now, on the back burner, because this is a type of player that you get in when options A, B, and C don't respond to your offers or are
I was gonna
unattainable.
ask. I was gonna ask, like, how do you actually feel? I mean, normally, and again, folks new to the scoop, we generally don't share our opinions too much on this. It's more so, hey, what's happening behind the scenes and kind of how that lays out. Our opinions we kind of share in various other Turn Giants things, but I mean, Lorenzo, he's been on his way out almost at Roma for a while for a reason, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
very promising player at one point, captain, but now he's what, almost 30. He's been
yeah,
sort of in and out for a while. This would be a very strange acquisition, in my
it would
opinion.
it would be, but I think if you keep in mind that if he arrives transfer free and he doesn't pretend to want these kind of high wages that a lot of people are expecting, then this could be a good transfer in terms of just having enough depth in the squad and having somebody to come on or change. So he could prove to be very useful. But I'd say that we will reserve that judgment if he should sign, and to see as to what financial impact it'll have. And I think we'll do our best if that should happen, that we will review him with our super algorithmic
Scientific ice cream.
scientific.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So let's wait with a super scientific analysis just yet. But he's a mind. He's a player to keep in mind, though. So we'll see. But I don't think that that he is the number one objective for Juventus at this point.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. It's very obvious from our list today what position is the priority. From our list, we have 4.5 center midfielders. The
Yeah.
half, and we'll talk about the half when we get to his name. But
Hmm.
we're looking at center midfield positions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two things before we finish off with Pellegrini. One, um, are we surprised to see no center backs? And what's the deal with that? And can you give us some insight as to, with the financial pressures on Juventus, what a actual transfer would look like, whether it be one of the folks on this list or somebody else?
Yeah. To get back to your first question, I think the absolute priority is somebody in center midfield. That's number one. The center back option is also entertaining. We're looking into that, but it's not as pressing due to also Bremer's comeback than the center midfield is. And I think Kamoli made it very clear this is going to be a market where we try to snag up certain, how shall I put it? It's not going to be a high profile market, let me put it that way. So we need to be on the lookout for bargains in terms of speech. And that also relates to the second thing that you asked me. In terms of transfers, I think we will be pretty much forced, if we sign anybody, to make it a loan. I don't
Yeah.
think we can outright fork out a transfer fee, because logically, if you do that, then it'll be in your books before that the season ends, and you need that balance sheet at the end of the season to see how much becomes obtainable in terms of transfers, in terms of wages that get released and things like that. So it's a bit of a speculative transfer market in that respect. But I think, and they internally made it very clear, the center midfield is a must.
Yeah.
So
As to the deal aspect, that makes sense. I mean, Pellegrini would be on a free. Bernardo Silva, we're probably talking about the summer, would be on a free. Frattesi and Ederson are both kind of on their way out of their respective clubs. Ederson with not long on his contract either. And then you have sort of the oddball of the group, Bengali over at Verona. He would most likely be a reasonable purchase considering how willing Verona is to sell. Right. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, we're gonna get back to the program and the names. We've got a lot of people hopping into chat. Alex, Yorgo, Azaru, Jurgen, we see your question. We'll be doing questions after we're done with this list. Danny, and I think that and Brian, I think that's everybody. Thank you. Continue to comment. We will be, like I said, responding to your questions and comments in chat after we're done with this list. All right, let's finish.
Yep.
Let's finish with our first name. What temperature do you give Pellegrini, Frederic?
I'd give him warm for now, due to his utility and due to the fact that it's the interest has been very recent. But I think I'll know a bit more on the next episode of the Scoop. It's something that it's still in its early stages, but there's interest from both parties. Financially, it's not that big of an investment, so therefore the warm temperature that I give it for now.
All right, let's move to Ederson, Atalanta midfielder, a year and a half left on his contract. There always seem to be rumblings about him wanting to leave, so it wouldn't surprise me that Atalanta will be looking to offload him either this window or the next one. Juventus has been pretty vocal with their interest to him in the past. Does Comoli feel the same way, Frederic?
Well, I think so because he's on our list for a reason. There have been numerous talks.
That's not actually how it works. I mean, we sometimes put people on our list where it's just like we need to address the rumor. No, it's not happening.
No. I think there's definitely some interest. However, I think that from Juventus' standpoint, it would only make sense for Juventus if they can get him on a free. We're looking now at, I'd say, 30 to 40 million euros of an investment. And after Koopmeiners, I don't think Juventus is that very happy or very able to spend that money on another Atalanta player. But it would be something to keep in mind to get him on a free transfer. I don't think that's going to happen, this transfer window already, because the priority and the time that we have, our priorities are set, and the timing that we have that month, I think our options are a bit limited. But I could see this developing into something over the summer. But you never know. There are other teams involved as well, a lot of teams with interests. But for now, Ederson, from what I hear, has made it clear that he does not want to leave Italy. For now, maybe that's due to lack of offers or destinations that he prefers. I have no idea, but we'll see how that unfolds.
Are you aware of a lot of interest, legitimate interest from the usual suspects in Italy then? Is Inter, Milan, Napoli, are they knocking at his door yet? Or is Juventus sort of or at least the first one that has approached his entourage?
No. We were the first, but afterwards it became very apparent that Napoli and Inter also showed interest. I'm not sure at what stages they're in, or there is any reciprocate respect or sense in finding a contract agreement. But I think we'll see. It all depends on a lot of factors right now. Number one being the appeal, of course, and a lot riding on our Champions League qualification, possibly. And then you have your signing bonuses, your managerial bonuses, all these things that weren't thinkable of 10 years ago, but now have become a fad. So we'll see how that evolves, and that's why I give him also the temperature, the room temperature, because I think this is something that needs to evolve, needs some more time, and is definitely not a priority for us.
Let's move to maybe the only name on this list that folks don't know. Player for Hellas Verona, Rafik Bengali. He's a versatile player, right? He plays out on the wing. He can also play in the middle of the park, which is why I said this list has 4.5 center midfielders. Where did his name come from, and what can we expect with regards to his potential arrival?
His name has been on our scouting papers for over a year now. We intensified over the last 3 months due to his performances, due to his growth as well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we saw him, or our scouts saw him, at least 8 times this season,
Oh
and,
wow.
and 8 reports came back really praiseworthy. So from the list that we have now in front of us, I think this is the name with huge potential in terms of feasibility with the transfer, but also somebody who could bring something to the table without paying a gigantic fee or salary or whatever. This might be a diamond in the rough because I've seen him play, and I know we're not supposed to dwell on opinions, but I think this is someone with a very steep learning curve. He learns fast. He's very agile, very able, very smart as a player, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be depressed if Juventus decide to go after him with a certain amount of dedication. So we'll see how it unfolds, and that's why I gave him the warm temperature, because I also think that this is something that we need. If you look at Cambiaso and things like that. Maybe Cabal, maybe even pushing back to that four-man in the back. And the only minus thing or the negative thing I have to say about him, he plays for Algeria, which is not a bad thing. It's not racially intended, but he plays the African World Cup of Nations, which you're going to miss him for a long period if he gets called up. I mean, it's a tournament that takes, what is it, 2 months or something.
So is he going to be gone the whole winter market? I mean, like that would complicate things, right? If you're trying to buy him in January and he's gone for all of January and
Uh, I'd
February.
say I'd say it makes it easier, to be honest. I've learned from experience, and from numerous people told me that if you try to negotiate with players that are away for an African tournament, it
Mhm.
makes the whole communication aspect a lot easier, because they apparently have a lot of free time. They're not as strict on cell phone policy or visitors or whatever. So it could be a blessing in disguise for now. But it's an annually recurring tournament, I think. So we'll see. But other than that, for me, it's somebody who ticks all the boxes of what I should want in my team. So we'll see how that develops.
He got his sort of real chance in Belgium at I'm going to mispronounce the name. I believe it's Mechelen.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
not? How did I do, Frederick?
Very well. It's Mechelen, but you did that very well. I'm impressed. Even I'm impressed.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you.
So
Did you get to see him play at all?
yeah,
And so when you said you've
uh,
seen him play, that's what you were referring to. And how did he
I've
strike you as a player in the Belgian league?
it was very clear that he has huge potential, but when he was in Belgium, obviously he was a bit younger, so he made numerous of rookie mistakes at that
Mm,
time. But you could tell, even during the warm up, I remember very well, because I caught a game. I got the Genk versus Mechelen game, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You could tell that this was a player that was already on another level. But you need to prove that in matches as well.
mhm.
So I took an interest in him. I followed him a bit, saw him play very well. So it wasn't a surprise to me that he'd move out of Belgium very quickly. And then I thought, the Verona transfer maybe a bit early, but he surprised me because, like I said, he's grown a lot in a short amount of time. So imagine what he can do if you put him in a club like Juventus, where he gets extra support and extra things in order to learn. So I'm very excited for this name personally.
Mm. Well, we were really excited over the summer with De Kuiper, and that didn't manifest. And boy, we probably could have used him, but no shoulda, woulda, couldas over here. We're moving on to the next name, a name that we've been the first to ever report, and we are simply tracking for you, Bernardo Silva, not a winter transfer, right, Frederick? This again is looking forward towards the summer. Where do we stand with regards to Bernardo Silva?
Well, we're keeping him warm in terms of we're in contact with his management. I think with him personally as well. Maybe I might. It's best not to share that info, but I don't care. Supposedly, Chiellini has spent some time talking to him via text, which I think will be a good thing. But we're keeping in touch, and he got an. Not everybody knows this, but he got an offer from Manchester City themselves to renew, which was a bit of a shock because everybody thought that Manchester City was basically fed up with him. But he declined.
Hmm.
He said, "I want to go play somewhere else." If he's made his mind up already, I do not know. But I think that we're really focusing on him, and I think in a general sense of the matter, it's Kamoli's mission during the transfer window in the summer to sign or re-sign and bring in a new core of people with a bit more experience, with a bit more guidance, leadership, knowledge. So Bernardo Silva ticks those boxes. So we'll see what happens, but we're in constant touch with him. So
I mean, he's definitely up there in age, but highly technical player. And maybe the most important aspect is, as captain of Manchester City, he's going to walk into this Juventus team and automatically demand and get, respect from a leadership standpoint. And that's something, in my opinion, that this team has lacked since Danilo was shipped. So we'll continue to keep our eye on this one for y'all, as we did starting in June, when we first dropped this one. We'll continue to track this. Folks in the chat, there's been a lot of questions popping in. We will get to all of them except for Farhad's question, whether Berardi's coming to Juventus. No, Berardi. Sorry, Farhad. You can keep dreaming. We will get to the rest of the questions after we're done with these next three names. For a week. The next two are kind of a combo package, though we somewhat, at least in the rumors, have been a combo package.
yeah,
We've been hearing all over the place that there's this Thuram for Frattesi or exchange sort of deal in the works and so forth. I think the answer that you're going to give everybody is that's not true. And so we are going to separately talk about the possibility of Frattesi joining and Thuram leaving. Right.
yeah.
So why don't you kick us off with the last potential arrival on this list?
Frattesi is a real name in that respect. So concerning the rumors, that is a name that we're monitoring. Just because Spalletti recommended him. This is the type of player that Spalletti sees in his team, wants in his team. And given the fact that Inter and him are a bit in a standoff at this point, it's not illogical to think of him. Also, given the fact that he's an Italian player, which is always a bonus around Juventus. Still, a player, would I say, to me, is not a top player, but somebody who can bring something to the table, especially under Spalletti. So I don't think that this is a waste of money. And but that's how Juve reasons as well. They don't want to spend a lot of money. We got the counter offer from Inter was, okay, let's do the swap deal. Juventus immediately declined, like instantly. Thuram is not for sale. Juventus are counting on him big time. They want to see how he evolves, and they'll do their best to enable him, team-wise and partner-wise, to become a steady source in the midfield for Juventus. And he will not, under any circumstance, move under a loan deal. Should an offer arrive for, let's say, I'm going to go crazy here, 60, 70 million, of course, now we'll have another conversation about the matter. But in a straight swap, it's not going to happen, but we keep monitoring Frattesi. But, the biggest issue there is the transfer fee.
And Inter is in no position to give Juventus any love in terms of a transfer. Even if Frattesi is unhappy, even if he has no chance of getting game time, they're not going to do anything other than try to extract every last euro.
Yeah.
Right. And so with that in mind, what temperature are we giving Frattesi?
Well, I've been debating that because we obviously prepare for this. And for the moment, I'd give him room temperature. because not only does the Frattesi transfer depend on the willingness of Inter and even the willingness of Frattesi, apart from his transfer fee, but also I feel it's going to be a bit intertwined with what type of midfielder we're going to get in as a priority, because that will determine whether or not we move him for him or he's the pawn that's lacking in that respect. So I give him room temperature for the moment, but I think every player that we now spoke about is a player where interest lies for Juventus in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see how it develops, but I wouldn't be surprised if the coming week we'll get to see a lot more articles concerning Frattesi. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, and then once we come back from both of our holiday trips, we'll be able to pound the phones to see what's really going on. And as y'all, any of y'all who followed the scoop over the summer know, one person could be cold one day, hot the next day, off the list the following. So that's just the nature of the game. Let's talk about the two potential departures. The first one being the Thuram, who you spoke about with regards to Frattesi. You said that only he won't leave on a loan, and he would only consider it if it was some absurd offer. Is that to be interpreted that it's very unlikely he leaves?
I think so. Bar any last minute cataclysmic events, because you never know. But Thuram is a player that speaks to a lot of teams in terms of his utility and the fact that he still has this margin in terms of progress. So he's somebody that's being looked upon by a number of teams, but Juventus have made it very clear that they are not willing to let him leave. But I take that with a grain of salt, because I'd say if an official 60 million euro bid comes in and you have more depth in midfield, then maybe it's time to contemplate things a bit more further. But for now, I would go as far as saying that an outgoing Kefren Thuram transfer to me as a temperature is cold.
All right, one more name on our list here, then we'll get into some bonus names. Some names came in after I finished the slides. So we'll do the bonus names, and then, like I said, we will get to all of your questions about potential players in, a couple about potential players leaving, like João Mario. So we will get to all of those, folks. So just bear with us for a few more minutes. Finish up the list, Frederic. Last one, Adzic. After his poor performance against Bodo Glimt, a lot of people were saying he needs to go, he needs to spend. Is he going to loan? Is he going to stay? What is going to happen to Adzic?
It's a high probability that it'll leave in January, also depending on if we get somebody extra in, of course, because that's the way it's going to work this transfer window. Somebody goes in, somebody comes in, somebody goes out, or vice versa, due to, once again, financial fair play regulations. But it's been he's spoken a lot with Spalletti in the last couple of days, and Spalletti feels that it's maybe best for him to go on a loan to play regularly, but not like a season-long loan or with an option to buy, because Juventus nor Spalletti want to get rid of him definitely. But they want to give him some playing time, and there are two teams that are very much interested, and that's at this moment Cagliari and Lecce. No official offers have been made yet, because from what I understand from my source, a 6-month loan deal in Italy is very difficult in terms of contract agreements and salary fees and bonuses and things like that, because the season's already started, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's gonna, take some time to get a formal bid in. But I do think that we'll get some loan offers in for him in January.
So what temperature do you give for him to go out on loan?
I'd say for now room temperature, because of the fact that there hasn't been anything remotely official in terms of offers or talks.
Mm-hmm.
But in my gut feeling tells me that it's probably gonna be a straight loan for now. Potentially that it gets prolonged during the summer. So we'll see how that goes. But I think for now, I think it's even best for Adzic to get minutes in at a lower tier league, so elite team. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, well, that finished with the names that we prepared earlier today, but a few names have popped up since. Frederic. So let's go on to our lovely logo screen here that Colo 99 did for us. Thanks again, Dan. We appreciate it and we love it. Why don't you
Thanks,
hit us
Ed.
with we got three names, right, that popped up, and then we're going to get to
Yeah.
folks' questions. We've got potential departure. We've got Perrine. And potential arrivals. We got Bernabe, and we have Timber.
Yeah.
Why hit us with those?
I'm going to start with Perrine. Perrine isn't actively searching for a new team, but he did receive an offer from Genoa, or at least Genoa contacted Juventus to see what the availability might be. And Juventus made it clear that they weren't opposed of a transfer. Perrine is also somebody who knows Genoa. Is not a stranger there. So it makes some sense because Perrine is not happy with the minutes he's getting thus far, which to me also makes sense, but that's another discussion. So something could happen, but for now, I think the offer that Genoa made is fairly low in terms of, I think it was 2.5 million that they were offering. I don't know if
he's a 30 something keeper who hasn't played really in a couple years. I mean,
if you look at it from Juventus's point of view, because they have no keepers lined up to take over in first team, so you'll have to fish out of a different pond to get your reserve keeper in, and chances are very likely that the keepers that you will need to address will cost a lot more. So, given the fact that he's still under contract, he doesn't make that much, and he's a viable, in my opinion, second keeper. It doesn't make financial sense for Juventus at this point. Should they up their bid and arrive, let's say, to 4 or 5 million, then it's a whole other different discussion. So we'll see how that unfolds. But the official bid, because I don't know if the guys here in chat knows how it works. A lot of teams, a lot of managers make bids via communication.
It's like unofficial.
It's forbidden. So you can't really accept that, nor does it hold up as an official bid. Should you determine to go ahead with that, it's basically just you're going to buy a car. There's a price. You try to haggle a bit. It's that pre-buying situation. But once that
sounds like a real scenario that you're going through, Frederic. It sounds like you're pulling from your real life on that one.
Don't get me started. I'm so confused. I literally, when I see different types of vehicles, whenever I close my eyes, and I'm going back and forth into DeepSeek and ChatGPT to give me a comparison and to tell me what I don't know, man. But that's another one. But so I think once that they have made their mind up, the buying team, I mean, they send out a formal bid via the manager or the club's management, and then the dance starts afresh. So I'm expecting an official Genoa offer starting January 1st.
Let's move to Bernabe, center midfielder for Parma. I think a lot of people who follow Serie A in general expect a player like him to not stay at Parma for very long. He's one of their more creative forces, or maybe their most creative force on their team. So I'm not surprised that he's popping up with rumors. What does Juventus have to do with him, though?
Well, Juventus has been monitoring him for quite a while now, and I think after Belgali, he's one of the names that has been frequented by our scouts the most, especially in Italy. And I feel that Comoli himself places him in high regard, and given the fact that Comoli is the one who decides, as well, for now in the January transfer market, I wouldn't rule it out that we're going to make a move. But Parma's aware of the interest. Parma's aware of the whole situation, and I'm a bit afraid of what the asking price will be. to be honest.
Well, in January, you would expect them to try to fleece us. I mean, the January, for the most part, is you get a guy for cheap whose contract is expiring, or you overpay for a player, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's
True.
what it is. His contract, just like with Ederson, does expire at the end of next season, though.
Yeah.
So summer, he's gone. He's
Hmm.
gone.
Yeah, yeah. Especially, but the thing that we have, or the advantage that we have, is that we can maybe bring in one or two players that could be very helpful to Parma this season, or the next, which would make, the transfer sum in itself
Mhm.
go down a significant bit. So I think that's the route we're contemplating at this point now. And I think, should we continue, the most logical thing that Kamoli will do for me is, um, the option with the loan with an option to buy, or maybe even the I'd say forced purchase, if the term serves me correct, but also maybe add in some people
Mhm.
unofficially, because you
Mhm.
can't do that officially. You have to make this sort of gentleman's agreement that, Parma will buy player X or Y or Z for that amount. So we'll have to be creative there, because I think we're gonna get fleeced. Yeah.
Well, and if the transfer's in January and you're not able to be creative with it, um, because I think like they know. Well, they probably know that there's going to be a bidding war in the summer. So yeah, I think it's going to be really hard for us to make that move. But you never know. You never know. Let's go to that last sort of bonus name. Urian Timber plays for Arsenal. And when it comes to positions, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you'll know better than me at least. But he can play a bunch of different positions, right? He can play
Oh yeah.
fullback, he can play center back, he can play sort of a defensive center mid position.
Yeah.
Very versatile player. Why is an Arsenal player and the EPL, where there's going to be EPL tax being mentioned in the same conversation as cash-strapped Juventus?
Well, it's he's not happy. He's not happy. But I wanted to make it clear, because I think I wasn't. But it isn't about Urian, because they're both unhappy. But his brother is even more unhappy. And we're talking about Quinton Timber.
Oh, I got the wrong.
No, no, I'm sorry. I should have specified, because if you say the name Timber, then obviously you think of the most famous one in terms of names, or whatever. So it's Quinton Timber, and the strange thing is, Quinton Timber was actually offered to us. So it's not that
Really?
we were proactively getting in touch with his manager, or whatever. No, it was Quinton that was offered to us by his management. And the question begs as to why his management would offer him to us. Well, very simple. He really likes Juventus. And I know this is like pretty, a strange take on it, but he really loves Juventus. He wants to play in Italy. He has no desire to move to the EPL, because of the fact that his brother doesn't have, the greatest experience there, and they talk a lot.
Mhm.
And his management group, I think it's Forza Sports Group, is in touch a lot with Kamoli. They did numerous things in the past. So he was offered to us, and that's it. And I think, I don't know him that well, but the things I've seen from him and the things that he's done, for me, he's a very complete player. My opinion, central midfielder, can play as a defensive midfielder, an attacking midfielder. Scores a lot, in my opinion, concerning his roles. Gives some assists too. Is a very
That might be
gritty
that might be a
player.
that might be a product though of the top teams in the Dutch league, right? And Feyenoord, they
Hmm.
score a lot of goals though. I mean, that's just the
Yeah,
nature of the league. So
yeah,
that might be inflated. I think he falls in when I said you're either going to get fleeced or you're going to get a guy on the cheap because his contract is expiring at the end of the season. He falls in the latter scenario.
yeah.
So it's a situation where he might be a quick steal type purchase for inexpensive that we can get in and plug a hole at a position of need.
I'm still thinking we're gonna have to pay at least 20 million for him though. But it's
20
like
million for a guy. His contract expires in 6 months. I mean, we could start negotiating with him for a free.
Yeah. I think that's where Juventus is pointing towards at this moment. But I know that Napoli also asked Feyenoord about his availability. Conte is a huge fan of Quentin Timber. And Feyenoord said, well, 20 million. And then Napoli brought on the same argument. Yes, but he'll blah, 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 20 million. So it's that, I think it's non-negotiable. But considering the fact that he was offered to us is a plus already. But I'm not sure if Juventus will push forward with it. Chiellini holds him in high regards as well, due to his utility and the fact that he can play defensively and attackingly. He's a bit of a more modern take on a box-to-box player. And the situation that we have right now in terms of him fitting in the team is kind of the same as with Thuram. You bought him for fairly cheap with a lot of potential to explore. The question then remains, is he going to be a priority or not? And that's all up to Camoli.
Yeah, well, we don't have a sporting director, so yeah, it is up to Camoli. All right, well, that brings us our normal names, our bonus names to an end. I will jump back to me and Frederic. And as promised, we're going to go down sort of the comments. Folks, please, and we see a lot of people jumping in. Our good friend Damiano, Osama Corbin, Del Piero, LJJ, I believe, Mosmiv, Luis, and more. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm just going to go down the list. I promised Jurgen we were going to start with him, so I'm going to go up and find that comment.
Yeah,
if I can.
Sure, Serge. I'll tell the people just something quick if you don't mind. Grimaldo.
Oh yeah, you say what you need to say, and then we'll start with Grimaldo.
No. It wasn't anything important. Just wanted to say that if we're doing this, that a lot of people should bear in mind that what you said earlier, that a lot of things can move in certain directions very quickly, and I've experienced it myself. That there was a player like 24 hours before we signed them, and I'm not gonna name any names because I promised I wouldn't, but prior 24 hours to him signing for us, there was literally no interest from us. And then it went, so fast that, a lot of things can happen. And especially with Camoli, because the thing about Camoli during a transfer window is he has a lot of contacts within the footballing world. So the way he sees things is very black and white, if I might. Pun intended.
nice plug. We will be doing. We will be. What is the right word? Releasing. That's the word I'm looking for. A few more episodes of our "It's Black and White" debate series. The first one or the next one will be on whether John Alcon should sell. The one after that will discuss whether Cambiaso should move on. And by discuss, I mean debate. So, sorry, I just quick plug, Frederic.
Oh, no. Nice. It was you headed it in very nicely. So thank you for that. No, but Camoli's very statistic driven and also financially driven, and he makes his decisions based on that. So if he negotiates for a player that's worth 20 million, but the day after he can get the same type of player with the same characteristics and potentially even results for 17 million. Then he goes for the 17 million one. He's very data driven, and sometimes that works out very well, but sometimes it's a complete and absolute flop, especially in terms of relationship management between different clubs, as we saw in the summer.
But it does. We don't need to get into Camoli. It does set sort of the standard, sort of the parameters of any negotiation, though. So it's like, hey, we can speak the same language if I know where you're coming from, type of thing. Let's go to the comments. Jurgen asks about Grimaldo. I'm assuming Alejandro Grimaldo, left back, Leverkusen, year and a half left on his contract. He has been popping up in a lot of different associated with a lot of different teams with the same question, actually, that Jurgen asks is, why doesn't anyone buy him? Have you heard anything about Grimaldo?
I think I'm not sure as to why other teams won't buy him, but for Juventus, he's not a priority. I think We went to look at him and had a few reports about him, and he was, I think it was last year, botched already due to some performances, mentality. Also, I think the management he has is not the most proactive management to work with. So there are a lot of things that go against him. He has the qualities, but he's also not the youngest anymore. Has some financial demands. Isn't the easiest to deal with,
Hmm.
especially in terms of getting to training on time and things like that. From what I could
Oof.
tell, so I don't know if that's the profile we want or need.
Well, let's move back. Let's move back to Italy. Um, right back, Marco Palestra on loan from Atalanta at Cagliari. Any rumors? Any rumors that you've heard about him moving? It seems unlikely
Ooh,
if he's on loan, right?
yeah,
So
we that I think that's the issue at hand also because Atalanta loaned him out with a specific target in mind, giving him
mhm.
the time and the minutes and the experience to grow, and he's doing that very well. I'd expect Atalanta to just get him back on loan. I think when he gets back from loan, his contract is still for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, at the top of my head. So it'll be a very difficult negotiation. Juventus is interested. I'm sure we will pursue him in some way, shape, or form, but having it turn into anything concrete, realistically, I can't see it happening. At least not for now.
All right, let's move to the next one. Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz. Well, this is just a matter of math, right? Um, uh, he's played as we near the end of the calendar year. He has 9 appearances, if I'm not mistaken, at Forest, which does not put him on pace, I believe, to meet his buy requirement. Frederick, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think
I mean, we're not
if
halfway
I'm
through
not
the season
mistaken.
yet. We're not halfway through the season yet, but he needs more than 20 apps, doesn't he?
No, I think he only needs 15 halves now.
15 halves. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think something 15 or 16 halves. So it's a 45-minute clause. If he plays 45 minutes within a game, then it counts as one game. If he plays 90 or the full game, it counts as two.
All right. Well, I don't
So I
know.
think
I don't know the minutes right off the top of my head. I think
he,
most of his appearances are abbreviated. So
he's not
look.
gonna be redeemed. Juventus want to offload him.
Oh, well, I guess that answers the second question. If for
Yeah,
some reason he comes back, we're going to try to find another home for him. I mean, that would
Juventus.
absolutely destroy his value. Yeah. I mean, the thing though, and maybe this is just thinking of him like from 2 years ago, like Villa, Douglas Luiz. I think he would absolutely be able to do a job in Spalletti's midfield. Like 2 years ago, like Aston Villa, Douglas Luiz, I think would be amazing.
Yeah,
And he
but
could serve several different roles. He could be the Lobotka role. He could play a little bit further forward. What you're telling us is, Zach, put your dreams away. They don't matter. It's not happening.
let me put it this way: we could also use the Del Piero from 15 years ago, but the Del Piero from 15 years ago is not the Del Piero from now, and neither is Douglas Luiz. He's so injury prone. Still with the same injury that he sustained at Juventus, or in my respect, I think he sustained that injury at Villa. So he's still, sorting that out. He's getting, older as well because time doesn't stop for anyone. So Juventus are banking on that 50 million sum with him and Nico. Nico is further down the path, to be honest. If we're
Yeah.
touching on him as well, I
So
think
Nico's
Nico.
what 25. I mean, his looks like it's going to happen. So Nico's is what 25, give or take.
Nico
The
needs
purchase
nine
price.
more. Nico
Yeah, but
needs
his
nine.
yeah, that'll
Yeah,
happen. That'll
25.
happen.
Yeah,
And then
25.
Then Timmy Weah, which is a mandatory buy, is 20.
Yeah,
So that's 45.
yeah,
And then the 25-ish, give or take, for Douglas Luiz would give a 70, give or take a
yeah,
million euro. So we need Douglas Luiz to have a few more halves. Let's make that happen.
yeah.
Let's
The
move.
thing is, he's not getting a lot of play time
I
under the
know.
new manager, so
I
that's a
know.
bit concerning at this point. But I hope he gets those. What is it? 9 halves in, and
Mhm.
or 15 or whatever it is. I can't remember, but I just hope that we offload him. I don't think he's somebody we're counting on for the future should he come back.
Fair enough. Well, I don't know if it was on an episode or it was just you and I chatting because we have no life, and when we're not recording episodes, we're still chatting, Juve. You had told me that you have a sneaking suspicion that if João Mario stays, and that you think he will stay, he'll be getting more playing time the second half of this season.
Well,
What
yeah,
would you expand on that?
yeah. For me, that's my weird sense of logic because he made it clear that he wants more minutes, or else he's out. I don't think Juventus will be opposed to, getting rid of him should he not be in the pecking order that Spalletti sees in front of him. But dwelling on that, I think if he doesn't leave in the first 2 weeks of January, then he'll probably stay. If he stays, that probably also means that he is given the guarantee that he'll be getting some minutes. I know Spalletti's warming up to him recently a bit more. He's doing well in practice and training sessions, which for Spalletti is the benchmark. For Spalletti, it's very important that you come on the training pitch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and give it your all. And he's been doing that lately. They're also I saw him in a lot of conversation. I got some pictures of him. Can't share him, alas, but I got some pictures of him in discussion with the defensive line coach. So my honest opinion is that they're prepping him to be a bit more defensively accurate, and that he might prove of use. There have been some teams in contact though, and I think I have to look back at my text messages, but if memory serves me correct, the team that's most interested up until now is Borussia Dortmund, and Leipzig, and a UK team, but they didn't go into specifics there. But those three are interested. But I don't know
if they give an offer, the dude's not playing. If they give an offer with how cheap he was, I wouldn't be surprised. And this is not about my personal opinion about João Mario, but I wouldn't be surprised if, just knowing how Juventus conducts their business, they'd be like, fine, if it's 20-25 mil, that's actually solid profit. They'd ship him.
Yeah. It can go both ways. It can go both ways. Either you get somebody in, or you have somebody who you set your eye on in order to replace him numerically, and you're banking on that. And then of course, you're going to entertain offers and proceed with selling him. If not, and you don't have any reasonable offers that are coming in, then you have no choice but to use him because he's in the squad, whether you like it or not. So with that in mind, I think Spalletti is, taking the next step into to see if he can mold him a bit more defensively. Should need be that we need to count on him.
I'm telling you right now, dude's no worse defensively than Cambiasso has been.
Even better.
Put him on the left and have him do his offensive stuff. Let's move on. This one should be pretty quick. We received this question on our Instagram page at Turin Giants, and we responded to it, asking about whether Dybala, whose contract expires at the end of the year, could see a return in Turin. Is this just a simple no, Frederic, and move on? We love La Jolla, but should we just close this chapter and move on?
Yeah, I think we best would. I wouldn't want to spoil the numerous glorious moments that I have in my head that I shared with Dybala on and off pitch. So I think it's best to leave it where it's at. But to give shed some light onto that, Dybala was with a couple of friends in a restaurant in Rome, and there were some, I think, reporters or paparazzi, whatever. And the question was along the lines of, do you regret leaving Juventus, or would you ever return, or what are your feelings about blah, blah, blah. And he said, Juventus for me is one of the biggest loves of my life. And if they call me for whatever reason, I'll fight to the very end for them. So kudos to him for, keeping the old lady in high regards. I'm just not sure that it's going to be something that, is worthwhile for us, especially given the fact if you've seen him play now and 5 years before that, it's night and day difference. Which is
he's also. I mean, even with us, it is at the end super injury prone.
Yeah.
It's just, unfortunate. That's just the unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
A couple folks were, as I'm scrolling down on the list of questions, I screwed up and said Yuri Timber. That is wrong. So like Lewis and Muhammad, who were mentioning that, I got the wrong Timber. It was Quentin Timber who we were talking about, his brother, midfielder.
It was my fault, by the
I
way.
believe he's at Feyenoord.
He's
If
at
I'm not
final.
mistaken. Yeah. So apologies. That's on. Well, I guess us. We were not talking about urine. Next question. And actually the next few questions are going to be related to players that we talked about on the last episode of the Scoop. Okay. Yeah. We have Patrick Berg first. We have Murham. I've screwed his name up already. Tarek Mirovic. There we go. Then we have Thiago Gabriel, 3 players we did talk about in the last episode. So let's go through those real quick. Patrick Berg, last time on the Scoop, we said that really there wasn't much happening there and that he wasn't really fitting the profile that Kamoli was looking for. Any change on that?
I texted my source with a literal question that Del Piero 109 asked. I literally asked the same thing. What about Burke? And the answer I got was not compatible. I don't know if that's an error in translation or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it was Kamoli's algorithm that threw me off or whatever it was. But that was my response on that question. Not compatible. So take of that what you will. But I can't really elaborate on that.
All right, next one. Let's go back to Tariq. He was a player. I believe we've got that buy clause, right? And he's playing well at Sassuolo, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's interest there, but with the buy clause, it seemed unlikely for January. Has anything changed?
No, the biggest issue with that buyback clause is there was some confusion within Juventus. Surprise, surprise. We thought that the buy clause or the buyback clause was already calculated in the balance sheet of when we sold him, but it isn't. So
great.
should we buy him back? It'll be on the balance sheet for this season, or even worse for this book year. Meaning that we might exceed financial fair play regulations, because there's also a bit of a change there. In the past, if you had a player, you released him or you sold him, and he'd come back to your team within 3 seasons, he'd still be considered kind of like your player, no matter the financial gain or loss that you had regarding that transfer. He'd still be regarded or viewed upon as a player that was in your balance sheet 3 years ago. FIFA changed that because that's an open door for money laundering and blowing up valuations of players. So he's then, basically a fresh player, comes into the balance sheet, and I think in the 50% buyback clause would still amount to at least 12 to 15 million euros. So I'm not sure if we can do that. Financial fair play regulations in the back of our head. So,
all right, let's do the last of the 3. Again, another player who we really liked. Juventus was following, and is actually playing pretty well this year. Lecce center back, giant young kid, Thiago Gabriel.
Yeah, we're still, very much in love with him as a player, or as the things that he can offer, and that's why I feel strongly about the Lecce Adzic link. It is my understanding that even if Lecce doesn't want to let Gabriel go now or in the winter transfer window, that if we should loan out Adzic, we get some sort of a, how shall I put it, head start to sign Gabriel in the summer.
You could do one of those like buy loan back with delayed payment situation, type of thing for the accounting fun time.
That's something we're very weary about, because we're under scrutiny now. Although it would make sense,
if his purchase price is 10 mil, give him 1 now, but they then do a 1 mil loan fee for Adzic, and then we give him 9 July 1st.
It makes sense and it's legal, but it's another it's another loaded gun you're handing UEFA and the FIGC, and I'm not sure. Doesn't
Maybe
look.
Juve shouldn't hire me to do their transfer.
I mean, I'd be I'd be like, let's go ahead, let's try, roll the dice, who cares? But I hope that Juventus is a bit more careful with that. But it doesn't mean that you can sign a pre-contract. A
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pre-contract, whether the fact that it doesn't hold any legal value is still something that has been used a lot in Italy, especially with loan players or younger players. So we'll have to get creative there. But Gabriel's still on our radar, and it doesn't mean that if we're not reporting something about him, then that he's off the table. That's not how it works. So he's still very much on, but we'll have to get very creative. And I wouldn't think of him as a reinforcement for the winter transfer market.
I think we're going to do two more. It looks like most of the questions I've got through them. I think there's two more questions. And I think usually we talk about this at the front of these episodes. And I know you sprinkled in the answer to this particular question throughout, sort of implicitly. But one of the questions was, is realistically speaking, how many players are we really? I mean, are we going to see much movement considering the financial constraints on this team in the winter?
My gut feeling tells me that it's gonna be 2, 3 max,
Hmm.
which should be on paper enough to fortify the team. If we can get like center midfield in, a center back, and a left wing back, I'd be happy. But the reality of the matter is the the most probable scenarios is that somebody will have to leave as well. And if that somebody is, I don't know, Cambiasso, then I wouldn't feel bad about it. But there might be a situation where we get offered a potential big sum for a player that is a key player to us, and we have no other choice than to sell him due to those regulations, because that's a reality as well.
Mm.
If we spend, then we have to get some money in as well, and it's gonna be a very hectic market for Kamoli. But to reassure the people in chat, management is heavily working on that center midfield. Like that's the main subject now at Continassa nonstop.
Last question. I want you to take for the last question. I want you to take off your scoop hat. This is more. Maybe regular turn Giants, or maybe even in the realm of it's black and white. What is your take on Locatelli and Perrine posting pictures of clearly ostracized Jonathan David? Is it like the story is this? The story is either there's no story, in which case the players wouldn't have to post anything, because the truth is that Jonathan David's is chill and they don't care what other people, what rumors go on. Or the story is true and they're creating these somewhat cringe posts to be like, look, everything is fine. Or is this some social media person coming and be like, hey, this will be really good to get out for our image. Take this picture with the Jonathan David and look like your friends. Like, what's your take of this situation?
I'm gonna compare this situation with a real life situation that I had.
Dear. Oh no. Okay. I don't know where this is going.
No. It's gonna. I hope it's gonna go in the right direction. If not, then well, yeah. I mean, we tried and failed miserably. So, no, I had a discussion with my wife like a couple of years ago when after our second born, and you know how it gets after your first and second kid. Marriage becomes a bit more of a chore in that respect, because you have so many duties. You're working nonstop. You're trying to look after the baby. And she said, don't you love me anymore? And I said, why? What does that mean? And he said, yeah, well, before we had kids, you were like posting on the gram. We went out, we did this, we did that. So immediately my stupid ass went, hey, I have to book us a dinner date. I have to make some photos for the gram. I have to do this and I have to do that in order to prove that, whatever she thinks, maybe there's some truth to that, but I don't want to get caught red-handed. I mean, this is the most stupidest move those players or Juventus could do. because if you see the reports, and there is a base of truth in there, Jonathan David was not welcomed the way a new player should have been
You've
welcomed.
mentioned this though. I mean, I think
Yeah.
like I don't you didn't I don't think you mentioned it as necessarily a fact, but you've mentioned it I think on a couple occasions that there were rumblings.
Hmm. Yeah.
There were some players
Yeah.
within the locker room who were cold to some of the new
Yeah.
additions.
Yeah. Especially given the fact that, you have the Vlahovic situation. Vlahovic is somebody who quite soonishly feels intimidated, especially in terms of somebody competing for his spot.
He must be
And
really
then
insecure if that's true.
he is very insecure. He is, well, to my knowledge, I don't know him personally, but the things I get, spoon fed through my messages is sure a sign that he is. But Jonathan David was just not welcomed properly. He wasn't, let's just say if there was a Bonucci, Del Piero, Chiellini, Barzagli, Buffon, it would have went a whole different path. And that this didn't happen. And being a new player from a new continent, because he is Canadian, Italy is a whole other ballpark, especially compared to France. New language, the same issues that for me Kelly had in that respect. So there was some friction, but if you then react to rumors by putting on a song and dance, which is so obvious that it almost hurts your eyes, then it's not a good thing. To me, that points.
It makes it so obvious. It makes it so
Yeah,
obvious that there is an issue. Like,
yeah.
come
I,
on, guy.
I'd rather. I mean, and this is like we talked about Locatelli, but this is also one of the things I hate, because if you're a captain and you read these rumors and you see that these rumors are even true or not, doesn't matter. But you see them popping up, you just grab the mic and you speak to the media, to the tifosi, and you say, "Look, I've been reading this too. I'm from the same earth you guys are. This is not true. Granted, maybe there were some issues with the adjustment or whatever. You try to sugarcoat it, but you say enough is enough. But just posting a picture, hey, this is my little friend. I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. It's ridiculous in my opinion. But and to answer Mohammed's question, why Vlahovic?
I was just gonna
Ah,
type a response, but no,
oh,
go ahead, go ahead. Actually, let me give
why?
my take and see if you agree. Okay, uh,
Yeah,
basically, is Vlahovic when he's the dude, he can maximize his potential, either transfer value if it was a January thing, or his salary and Levi on a free by being the dude. And you saw that he was playing with a little bit of fervor this year longer than he usually does because he's playing for a contract. Jonathan David coming in, scoring goals and doing well means Euros lost for him. That's my take.
yeah. And the other thing is because he doesn't want to renew is not true. We offered him a renewal. Um, I think over the summer already or pre-summer already, and his manager was livid, didn't want to accept the terms, and said, "Well, f you guys," and sawed it off. And at that point, if you behave yourself in that manner towards Kamoli, then the end for you is near.
I mean, the end
So it's
for him
not
was always near. I mean, dude's earning what 20 something gross. There's no way he's going to be like, "Hey, we'll give you 10 gross," and then he'd be happy to stay. There's no world where that's just human, right? You can't
from
accept
no,
taking a 2/3 pay cut and then show up in the locker room and then look around and have these people
no.
be like, "Oh, I'm glad you're." I mean, that just think of your workplace. If that happened with your job or your coworker, it's not realistic.
They offered him the same amount as David is earning right now.
So about
They
11
offer
gross plus
it's
bonuses.
7.2 net, if I'm not mistaken. 7.2 net, somewhere around those lines. So that was basically a step forward, a step backwards, because he had 8 net to begin with, and the 4 extra is basically just
With
a
all the
bonus
bonus,
for
yeah.
his last year. So they said you're not, corresponding with the things that we thought you were gonna do, but you're still like vital for us in terms of the team, the locker room, and maybe even your production. So we're not going to give you the amount that we're giving you now, because that was not the decision made by Kamoli back then, nor Chiellini. So they came back with a 7.2 offer, and they were basically spat in their faces due to that, and that led to a lot of aggravation between the two parties. And I'm not pretty sure. I think Vlahovic now is a, a bit infuriated with his manager too.
Well, you run the risk. You run the risk of going into the last year of a contract, of getting injured, and nuking, for lack of a better term, your potential value. He could
Well,
have gone to places. I mean, this is reminiscent of our discussion about other players. Frederic is he did not get offers and interest from the teams of the stature that he viewed himself at. Well, guess what? He's not going to play this year. And so the values, nobody is going to give him what he was going to get now
no,
because he's
no.
damaged goods.
And
Fact.
in all fairness, because I see Kamoli getting a lot of hate, towards this matter, we wanted to let him go to wherever he wanted to go in the summer on the only term that his balance sheet or the cost on his balance sheet in terms of transfer was nullified,
Yeah.
meaning I think we're talking 22, 23 million euros here to
Yeah.
get it. So
Which is
that
not
was
which is not a lot. I mean, like when
no,
you think about it, like the team, you look at the top quarter or third of Bundesliga, of Spain, the top few teams in
yeah,
France. I know several teams at the top of France were looking for a new striker, and not too many in the EPL, but a couple teams in the EPL too. Like if instead of throwing a tantrum, if his management worked the phones, he had been gone, he'd be playing somewhere else, earning more money
yeah.
than he's going to earn now.
Yeah, and let's not forget, if we get rid of his contract, it opens up a whole stream of money we can use differently. I'm not going to say we're going to do that because with Juventus lately, you never know transfer wise, of course, but it does generate a kind of surplus on transfer window
Yeah,
potential revenue.
let's mention it real quick, and everybody, we're kind of wrap it up here. So we appreciate your comments. We're just kind of we love talking Vlahovic.
Yeah.
So, we mentioned earlier 70 to 75 million euro coming in potentially from buy clauses. Okay.
Yeah.
Then when you talk about free transfers, guys like Kostic, McKennie, Vlahovic, for instance, you're looking at minimum 30 million in salaries off the books. You're looking at a net of over 100 million euro that Juventus
Yeah.
would have in the summer that we don't have right now, which is
100.
crazy.
I'm gonna break the bank here. It's
Oh dear.
120 million that we could potentially get back on our balance sheet at the end of the summer, excluding the Champions League bonuses that we might receive in terms of where we land in the Champions League, of course, and excluding, because we did do that, we did a financial injection of a nice amount, and that would round us about 30 to 35 million extra for transfers. So that means that we have, it's cutting corners here. I'm not not an accountant, but it would be 150 million at minimum.
Yeah, no, I
that
mean,
we-
look, I'm not asking you to give me decimal points. But the math is what the math is. Anybody can go and look at, Capology or Transfer Market and say, oh, these are what the people earn. This is when their contract ends. This is what the buy
yeah,
clause is on the loans. Like we're not making it up. It's more so we're rounding to the nearest 10. These
yeah,
numbers are out there for anyone to see.
yeah.
And let me ask you, this episode is dragging.
It's okay. I like it. I like it.
Because
I see questions popping up. Let's go.
Okay. So I'm going to put you in this situation. Okay. You have been very consistent that not making Champions League is akin to like the death penalty for Juventus, at least for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
If we're talking net benefit of 100 million, that's more than what you make for Champions League. So if we say Europa League, no, it's not going to be Champions League money, but
No.
How could a net advantage of 100 something a million euro plus whatever competition money you get, say for Europa League, if say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's what we're how would that kill us?
Well, very simple, because if you get rid of players or their balance sheet wages or fees, you have to replace them. It's as simple as that. The players that go out will have to be replaced. And if you say you could take the short run, and say we're going to go with next gen, but that means that you'll delay your comeback to.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because think of it this way: Dushan leaves. He didn't really do much for us, anyways. I mean, if we're forced to buy Openda, then you amortize his purchase price. But you have Openda, you have David in a single striker system that Spalletti plays. If Kostic leaves, he's not going to play much, anyways, right? He
No, no, no,
hasn't.
no.
If Rugani leaves, he's not playing at all, anyways. The only player that would leave on a free or from these loan deals that we actually are
Hmm.
utilizing is Weston
Yeah.
McKennie. If we don't get it, then you get guys
Hmm.
like Quentin Timber, who we were talking about. That's a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
free, right? You
Of
you you
course.
get Bernardo Silva. I know he probably wouldn't come if we're not in Champions League, but you get guys that you go back to sort of the
Yeah.
the model from a
Uh,
decade ago. You get
yeah.
tactical free transfers, and then you get deals, and you probably renew McKennie for whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's like,
The,
with that in mind, and we're not losing too much, and we're getting all this
no,
money,
no,
and
no.
that covers us for a little, doesn't it?
The the issue is the Champions League money for us is seen as a bonus that we may inject into transfers,
I
because
understand.
the financial fair play regulations are so strict with us, not with everyone, but with us they're, held under a loop for some reason. And that means if we get money in via transfers, we can only, and I'm going at the top of my head here. The money you get in, you can utilize for 70% for transfers and fees. So imagine we get 100 million in from transfers, then we can utilize 70 million, which is a lot, but it's also not a lot, because that's basically what Coop cost us in the summer or 2 summers ago. So having that Champions League extra is not only important for the financial aspect, but only for also for how shall I put it, to attract new players, to attract new investors, because that's the thing we're struggling with as well.
Yeah, I
We had
understand.
to we had to go back to Jeep, cap in the hand, and the Robin Hood Disney cartoon, the blind fox with the.
Almost for the poor. By the way,
Yeah,
that is like, I think. I mean, at this point, it's about 70 years old, give or take.
it
But
is
that old Disney Robin Hood, animated
one of
Robin
the
Hood,
best.
is one of the
One of-
best.
Yeah, I
Absolutely
completely
one
agree.
of the best.
Just the tune gets me hyped, like in the beginning.
Oh
Dee, dee,
yeah,
dee, dee,
the
dee.
whistle song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I gotta be honest, Frederick. We are way off the reservation
We
on
are
this.
way
We are
up
way.
there. Yeah. It doesn't
uh,
matter. But to get back to that, I think it's that, because we actually had a lot of discussions with Jeep, and Jeep offered us not a hefty sum, but Jeep did that in order to help Juventus. So it
how did
wasn't
those
a thing for
discussions
Jeep.
work? Hey, John Elcon, can you give us some money? Yes, John Elcon, I'll give you whatever you want. Is
But
that what?
no, the thing is, Jan Elkan can't put money directly into Juventus from Exor. So he needs a company that could benefit from some commercials, which is
Mhm.
under his umbrella. And in that case, Jeep was the only one that was viable, especially for Italian football. So we went back, and then you're in a very bad negotiating space, because you're going back cap in your hand, and you get what you get. And this is something we want to avoid, especially. And, we're talking about Champions League bonuses, but we
Mhm.
always forget to mention the TV money. Because for some strange reason, our TV money, because you also get bonuses by several channels who purchase the Champions League rights, we can't find that back. I don't know as to why. They're very sketchy about that. Every team is, but that is almost the same amount as you get from UEFA for qualifying. So you
Mhm.
you can double the price that you see in news reports. So it doesn't look to be that much, but you could well earn up to 70 million euros if you get to what is it, quarterfinals, not even quarterfinals. So that's a large amount which you can freely invest without financial fair play interfering, because that's competition money. All the rest you need to, you need to be accountable, be accountable for. You need to say, okay, we sold Weston McKennie for 100 million. We get 70 million that we can invest in transfers and this and that. So yeah, and I see Federico has shown up in chat. So
better late than never. Frederica, we shouted you out earlier. Please listen earlier. My man Antonio jumped in a little bit later as well. Take a look at it. We did talk a lot from Juve fan clubs to a bunch of names. Some from us, some from the chat. I think though, most Scoop episodes are about 40 minutes shorter than this, so we're gonna probably leave it at this. Everybody, hey, with the holidays coming up. Just kind of let you know what's going on. If all goes well, we'll be with Beppe tomorrow on his channel for Juve Talk. We'll give you a post game after Roma this weekend. We should have an It's Black and White early the following week. Obviously, we won't be doing much the week of Christmas. In fact, I think I'm gonna be out of town. I think you might be as well for a little bit, Frederic.
Yeah, I am.
We'll then give you a post Pisa. Give you another It's Black and White, and that kind of brings
post Roma.
Post Roma and post Pisa. Yep.
Yeah.
But that kind of brings us to the end of the month, where we'll be picking up with a lot more of these Scoop episodes, and Frederic will be manning the phones like mad. All right. Couple last things. If you like the content, you want to keep listening to us drone on about nonsense and cartoons and so forth, please subscribe to our YouTube, Turn Giants Official. Please follow us on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. We always love getting feedback, whether it be on the Scoop, whether it be on It's Black and White. Currently, we only have our debut episode up. Leave us comments. We read those. We honestly take that feedback to heart as we try to always improve and make these episodes better. So please do that. I think that's pretty much everything. Frederic, as always, thank you to everybody in chat.
Thank you so much.
Y'all are fantastic. Appreciate you as well. Until we speak again, as always, Forza Juve.